the future of mankind? What is the evolution of man?
The world goes through many cycles, and the present cycle which we are now going through is a very important cycle. And I agree with the Mayans that it will end in 2012. So things will start happening from the year 2006. This we could say is the culmination of probably whatever has happened from the beginning of the universe. Something extremely great is going to happen, and in a sense we can say that is the end of the world. Not that the world is going to end physically, but man will end as he is today. In other words, he will become free of his mind. That's what is going to happen. So things will start happening from the year 2006, that is towards the end of 2006.
And when I do, for example, sadhanas from different traditions, I feel like energies are different. So is there a good way to combine them, or is it a good idea? Or?
See, in 2012, when there's going to be the golden age, there will be no such thing as religions. There will be no Christianity, there will be no Islam, no Buddhism, no Hinduism. There will be no cults. There will be no nations. There won't be Russia, there won't be India, there won't be China. It will simply be coming and going. There will be no East, no West. No this tradition, no that tradition. There will be a single human tradition. Everything is going to mix and flow. It's going to be a very different world. You cannot conceive of it now. You cannot imagine about it now, because you don't have any reference framework. It's going to be a very, very, very different world. So we will not talk in terms of Russians or Indians or Americans. All that will go. No Christianity, no Hinduism, nothing there. No Eastern, it will all fuse. There will be no such thing as East and West. It will all become one. And it is already started.
What information should be given to people? What part of different sciences will be helpful for everybody?
So all knowledge, whether it is science or technology or art or whatever is there, whatever we call good knowledge and bad knowledge and neutral knowledge, all knowledge comes only from God. And whatever has been happening is all according to a divine plan, including the catastrophes, environmental pollution, and the other changes the earth is facing, are also part of a divine plan only. And he must continue, must continue with science, and science itself is going to dramatically change from 2006, as everything else is going to change. So simply all the problems that have been caused to man by science and technology is going to prove to be a blessing now. So that is part of the divine plan, including industrialization and all that has happened, the wars, even that is according to a divine plan only. Now all this is going to bear fruit from 2006 onwards, and from that time onwards, science itself is going to undergo a dramatic transformation. A new science and technology is going to emerge, which is like the other side of spirituality, like two sides of the same coin. Spirituality and science will become two sides of the same coin from 2006 onwards.
What will be the consequence for everybody if not everybody will get enlightened by 2012? What will happen to us?
First thing is, before 2012, there are going to be a lot of calamities. At least 1/3 of the human population will be wiped out. In the next 11 years, we will have such major calamities that nearly 1/3 of mankind will be gone. So only 2/3 will be remaining. Now it can even happen that 2/3 will be wiped out and only 1/3 will remain. These possibilities are there. Now the remaining 2/3 or 1/3, if they are not enlightened, they would revert to some very primitive form of life. But if they are enlightened, then they will continue the way we are now living now, probably in a much better way. So there will be total calamity if people do not become enlightened. But even with enlightenment going to happen, still at least 1/3 will be wiped out from the face of the earth, in spite of people becoming enlightened. these are visions which we have been seeing for the last 10 years, not one or two people. Thousands of people have seen these visions. We've been repeatedly making them see and find out, So it has been very well checked out. So at least 1/3 will cease to exist.
Or what will be the physical changes connected to 2012 on all levels?
Physically it would be very much the same. The sun would still rise in the east and it will set in the west. And like some people are saying the earth will stop. I don't think the earth is going to stop. So not much changes immediately in 2012. What you would see is all systems would undergo a change. The educational system will become very different. The political system will become very different. The monetary system will become very different. The way man lives will become very different. Because all people will feel very connected to each other. They'll completely experience whatever is there. So you won't feel different from anything or anybody. So it's a totally new experience for mankind. A lot of sharing will be there. For the first time they'll experience what true love is. These things will be happening. And then slowly the way we govern ourselves, the way we transport ourselves, there will also be immense technological breakthroughs. So physically also in that sense it would be different. But climate-wise and how the land is behaving, the land is dry will continue to be dry, the land is wet will continue to be wet. But in the next 25 years, some dramatic changes will happen. Many of the present day deserts will cease to be deserts, and the whole environment and the atmosphere will become very, very clean. And you will see the dying away of almost all these modern day industries. So it's going to be a very, very clean and very beautiful world 25 years from 2012. But in the meanwhile, there will be unimaginable calamities. There's every likelihood that 2/3 of humanity could be wiped out, or at least 1/3 of humanity will cease to exist. That is the negative side of all things before 2012. But physically it won't be very different. I mean, the earth won't be very different. But the way we transport ourselves, the way we do work, all these things will change. The Earth's magnetic field will change. The northern, the North Pole will become the South Pole. Not the physical North Pole, but the Earth's magnetic North Pole will become the South Pole. The South Pole will become the North Pole. Now, if there's a place called Sharjah in West Asia, if you go there, there's a house there. In that house there is my Srimurti. If you take a magnet before the Srimurti, it will exactly change the magnet. You can see with your naked eyes the magnet changing before the Srimurti. So that will be the epicenter. From there, the whole field is going to change. It is the change of the magnetic field that man is going to finally become enlightened. For 3, 4, 5 days, there won't be the Earth's magnetic field. It is very crucial for a shift in consciousness. So the beginning is already made. Such of those who could go to Sharjah, you can see it. You can see with your eyes how the compass behaves in front of my Srimurti. It will completely change. So that from there it's going to start. The whole field is going to change.
What is actually Mulam? I heard it's like the center of the universe. Is it some kind of planets or stars that exist there, or is it how is the influence and what is?
In India, when we use the word Moolam star, it refers to a group of stars actually, not a single star. We have the habit of saying Moolam star, we'll say Rohini star. It is not a single star, it's a group of stars actually, it's a constellation. So there's a constellation called Moolam, but when we talk we say the star Moolam. So this, according to Hindu astrology, is at the center of our galaxy.
In our
Galaxy, not the universe.
Okay.
Of our galaxy. And the solar system is going around the galaxy. And when it is transiting certain areas of the galaxy, then consciousness changes. And as it moves away, it again declines. Then again it comes back into focus. So this repeatedly happens in 4 cycles. We have what's called the golden age, and we have got the bronze age, the iron age, that way. So according to certain Hindu astrologers, from the year 1991 and 92, things that started happening on this planet. And it should culminate in the year 2012. That's exactly when we began our work also, coinciding with that. So many astrologers said, yes, this is the beginning of enlightenment, purely from the point of view of astrology. And there are many prophets in India who also made the same statement. So it's a general thing that 1991-92 is the beginning of this process. That's exactly we began our work at Somangalam and Freddy also. That was the year?
1991, 18th of February 1991.
Yes, he came in there. And week after week, month after month, we can see the process is improving actually. And we have quite a lot of people in India, very ordinary people, who are fully enlightened. This could never have been imagined earlier. And every month it is growing now. So we are confident that by the year 2006, 60,000 will be able to make it. So we want about 30,000 Indians to make it, and 30,000 people from the rest of the world. And once that is achieved, we feel by 2011 or 12, almost the whole of mankind must have made it. Once these people make it. But it is beginning to happen. There are people who are fully enlightened. These are ordinary people who are not in any book, not gone to a guru, nothing. Simple housewives, factory workers, chartered accountants, engineers, but who came to the process, who underwent the process, and when they speak, you will mistake them to be a Buddha or a J. Krishnamurti or somebody like that. So it is beginning to happen, and it is picking up momentum. And I would say that a lot of Westerners are very close to enlightenment. They have not actually made it, but they are pretty close to it. I especially know quite a lot of people in South America who are very, very close to enlightenment. And some have actually made it also. So the process has commenced. So it will happen. And we attribute this to the star Moolam or the constellation Moolam, which was predicted long, long ago. And the final shift will take about 5 days. There is in 5 days, the whole of humanity must have shifted into enlightenment.
Like within that period of 1911?
Probably, yes, November or December of 2012. Sometime in that period, within 5 days, the whole of humanity must have become enlightened. It will just take 5 days.
Do you think that's possible?
Yes, in those 5 days, with a complete shift. But before that, millions would have become enlightened. But the entire shift will happen in those 5 days. Mostly November or December 2012. And then it will take 25 years later to consolidate that. Because you need new forms of government, new forms of business, new forms of industry, all this must emerge. That would take 25 years. And from then on, it will last for 1,000 years. And then probably humanity might not live anymore on the planet. There might not be need to be on this planet. So all might quit. So you can see roughly 1,000 years.